Good morning, guys. Today is Thursday, November 5th, and we're going to get started with our daily lesson. Please, if you don't already have one, pause the video here and go grab a piece of paper and a pencil because I need you to write these sentences as I am typing them in red. We are making sure to start with a capital letter, end with punctuation, and fix things in between. Okay, our first one, Ken isn't here. So we need to start Ken with a capital letter. Isn't is a contraction, so it needs a apostrophe T. That stands for is not. And then here, that is actually a homophone, and it needs to be changed to here. We talked about homophones a little bit last week. Remember, those are, those are words that sound the same, but they're spelled differently and they have a different definition. This here is like when you hear something, a sound, and then this is like come right here. Alright, I'll ask my mom if I can go. So I'll is another contraction, stands for I will. I'll ask my mom if I can go, period. Alright, so contraction. Alright, we've been talking a lot about contractions. Remember, that's when you combine two words and you put in an apostrophe. So, the words did not. Pause the video here and think about what did not would make. If you said didn't, you would be correct. So you put did, you put in, you replace the O with an apostrophe, and you end with your T. Didn't. Find the verbs in this sentence. So remember, a verb is an action word. Kelly ate a big banana and drank some cold milk. Those are actions. Ate and drank. And then at the bottom we have name two words in the ook family. Go ahead and pause the video here and write your two words and let's see what I come up with. So I'm going to say book and cook. If you came up with another word, that is great. That means you're being a really good thinker. Okay, so that's our DOL for today. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at vocabulary, because today you have your vocabulary test for 2 bear cubs. Alright guys, here's our vocabulary words. Our first one is greedily. When you do something greedily, you take more than you need. The boys greedily reached for the food. So they took more than they needed. The next word is hesitation. A hesitation is a pause that shows you are unsure about doing something. Lucy continued reading after a slight hesitation. So it's kind of like you're pausing. You're stopping what you're doing to think about something before you continue doing it. Our next word is burden. A burden is something that is heavy to carry. My backpack, books, and school supplies were a burden to carry home on the last day of school. So in the picture, the boy has a big backpack and big heavy books that he's carrying. So all of those things would be a burden. Our next word is unnoticed. If something is unnoticed, it is not seen by anyone. The dog went unnoticed as Carrie talked on the phone. So when you are unnoticed, you are not seen. The next word is drowsy. A drowsy person is sleepy and not able to think clearly. My little brother was very drowsy while he was trying to read his book. So another word for drowsy would be like sleepy. And our last word is reassuring. If you are reassuring a friend, you are trying to keep him from worrying about something. Alexa kept reassuring her brother that he would find his lost baseball card. So that's you trying to tell somebody it's going to be okay. We're going to find it. You're changing things to a positive perspective. You're trying to keep them from worrying about something. Alright guys, all this week we've been talking about fractions. And now we're going to move on to putting fractions on a number line. Okay, so we have a number line here. And a fraction, remember, is a piece. Okay? So a fraction, you're going to find a fraction in between 0 and 1. So just think about that for a second. Between 0 and 1, that's a very small space if you're counting, right? If we're counting 0, 1, 2, 3, and you would keep going. Fractions are found between 0 and 1. So that's always how our number lines are going to start. They're going to start with a 0 and with a 1. And we want to figure out which fraction is represented by the cupcake. Alright, so let's get started. So what you have to do is you want to be careful because you have to count the parts here, but you don't count the lines. You want to count the jumps. Okay? So we're going to start with 1, jump again. So we're jumping from line to line, starting at 0 and working our way to 1. Now, the number of jumps we have is going to tell us our denominator. Remember, that's the bottom number. So let's count our jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means our denominator, So I know I have 5 total jumps, which means 5 is going to be in my denominator. Now we need to figure out where the cupcake is. Because remember, the denominator is the whole, the numerator is the piece. So I have 1, 2, which means 2 is my numerator. So the fraction represented by the cupcake is 2/5. Okay, 2/5. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. So here, again, we're going to count the jumps. This is how we label a number line. Okay, so we're going to start at 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, remember, we start at 0, end at 1. So I have 1, 2, 3 jumps. So what is my denominator? 3. Okay, now we need to count where the cupcake is. 1, 2. So that means my fraction here is 2/3. So the cupcake is on the 2/3. This is 2/3 right here. Okay. Now the way we can show this, and this needs to be part of your labeling, is I know I have 3 parts. So this is 0/3. Our next line is 1/3. Our next line is 2/3. And our last line is 3/3, which equals 1 whole. When you have the same number on top and bottom, like 3 and 3, that equals 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3. That's also going to be part of your labeling. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. So here's our number line, and again we want to show where the cupcake is. So we're going to start by counting our parts, starting at 0. Remember, a fraction is always between 0 and 1. Here we go. Everybody count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know I have 4 parts. So I know 4 is my denominator. So let's write our fractions on our number line. We need to fill in the whole number line. I have 0 fourths. I have 1 fourth. I have 2 fourths. Notice, remember, just like yesterday, my bottom number is not changing. 4 is staying the same. My top number is counting by ones. 3 fourths and 4 fourths. And remember, when the number in the numerator and the number in the denominator are same, that's always going to equal 1 whole. So now we can clearly see that our cupcake is represented by 1 fourth. That's why it's important to fill those fractions in. Okay? Alright, so if you have a journal, I want you to make sure you're pausing the video and drawing these number lines with me. If you haven't been, pause the video now and go ahead and draw this. Make sure you have the correct number of lines and just put a dot where the cupcake would be, or you can draw a cupcake if that's what you want to do. When you're ready, click play and we'll go through this together. So remember, we're going to stop at 0 and we're going to count our jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're going to count those and fill those in. Remember, the most important thing here is labeling and showing our work. Okay, so I have 7, so now we need to fill in our fractions. So this is going to be 0 sevenths, 1 seventh, 2 sevenths, 3 sevenths, 4 sevenths, 5 sevenths, 6 sevenths, and 7 sevenths. Remember, when the top and the bottom number are the same, it equals 1 whole. So that's how you know you're labeling it right. If you end with the same two numbers, you know that you're ending it correctly. Okay, so now that we've filled all that in, now remember, the denominator is not changing. It's staying at 7, okay? The top numbers, or the numerators, are counted by ones. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And our cupcake is very clearly marked at 6 sevenths. Okay, so the main thing to remember here is count your jumps first, because that's going to give you your denominator. Okay, I had 7 jumps, so I know my denominator is 7. Once you do that, fill in all of your fractions. Okay, and if you end with the numerator and the denominator being the same, you know that you've ended at 1. So those are the most important things. So if you have 4 fourths, that equals 1 whole. 3 thirds, that equals 1 whole. 2 over 2, that equals 1 whole. 10 over 10, that equals 1 whole. Okay? Anytime the numerator and the denominator are the same, that equals 1 whole, or 1. Okay, so make sure when you do all this on Canvas, you take your time, draw the number line in your journal or on a piece of paper, draw it, label it out, and get your answer. Okay, guys, take your time. Don't just count it in your head. Draw the number line to help you, and that helps you practice labeling it. Okay, so good luck on Canvas today. Please make sure that you work hard on labeling this, and make sure that you study those vocab words before you start on your vocab test. Alright guys, y'all have a good Thursday. Bye.